What is up, YouTube? It is your boy, the Chill Streamer Live. Welcome. So, it has been a very long time since I've made a video related to political bullshit, but here we are. My voice is a little hoarse. I don't know why that's been the case recently. Guess I'm just not in tip top shape anymore. I'm getting older. And because of my voice, I'm gonna have to make a really short video talking about something I want to really discuss. I want to talk about the Israel-Palestine conflict, which is now quickly becoming the Israel versus anywhere in that region conflict, because these guys are waging a literal genocide right in front of us with the full complicity of the European and US government. And it's no exaggeration to call it a genocide. That's what it is. Motherfuckers will even deny that. And they typically tend to be Zionist and also just downright white supremacists. That's a different subject. I don't like talking about politics. When this YouTube channel was called The Ultimate Being 01's Commentary, that was a few years ago. I deleted all those videos. I felt that I could do much better. And quite frankly, I felt that the subject matter really was not up to my particular style of delivery. But I can still rant and give an opinion and opine on what I believe is to come. So I'm going to take the format of the very first video I made on this channel when it was called Ultimate Being 01's Commentary several years ago, and live stream from my PlayStation 5. Is that just joyful? Now then, what I really wanted to focus on was how to spot and tear apart propaganda, so that you, the viewer, can understand how the US government is lying to you literally every time you're turning on the TV at this moment. It's always been this case, but you need to understand why they're doing it. This video may go on a little bit longer, but stick around, it will be interesting. Now, normally I would do this shit live, and that was one of the biggest problems when I was running the Ultimate Being 01's Commentary channel. Pardon me. See, I was trying to do it live, and quite frankly, that was not conducive to editing. So I'm going to film this first on a PS5, record it with my voice. What you're seeing is the Resident Evil 4 remake menu screen. It's just going to be an endless loop, so you're not looking at just a black screen. But I don't have a PC, so you're not going to get no fancy editing. You're just going to hear my voice. I'm just going to just tell you what's going on. I'm trying to keep it succinct and straight to the point as possible. And when I have to delve into hypothesis, I will tell you what my hypotheses are. See, that's what journalism or a journalist's creed should be. But here in America, they're quite literally pro-genocide. So they done dropped all pretense of being journalists, and they're all just federal and Israeli propagandists. It's a fucking mess, and it's amazing to behold in real time. And I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I am speculating that this shit can lead to a potential third world war. That I don't believe is hyperbolic at this point. I believe that is a very feasible possibility, very feasible event on the horizon, I should say. So give me a moment and pull up my cell phone. I want to start with a little general overview of what's been happening in the news and, amongst the American people. And it's ugly. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So what happened? Well, I'm going to start with an alleged assessment of the lead up to the now ongoing Israeli genocide against Palestinians. What happened? Well, according to Israel, which, by the way, is a thoroughly dishonest and discredited government, they stated that Hamas, the government of Palestine, attacked them during Saturday, like about a week ago. And there was a music festival being held. Apparently, these people hang glided in, and they started gunning people down. And there was video released that alleged this stuff happened, but that's no longer to be believed. It should now be re-questioned, and I'm going to explain why. Put simply, Israel has been lying about Palestinians since they started this genocide. They have literally been claiming that these people were beheading children on top of storming Israeli elementary schools to take hostages and kill everyone there. How would you do this simultaneously? I have no idea. Kill everyone and also take everyone hostage. Kind of a contradiction, but I digress. And then they hang glided in and gun people down at this festival. I really do not believe that that's what happened. I'm actually beginning to think that Israeli forces masqueraded as Hamas terrorists, alleged, they, put on the clothes and just chant Allahu Akbar and then started killing their own people. But I know that's a conspiracy theory. But then again, Israeli forces are actually killing civilians, and they're not even being honest about that when they do. And that's officially. Now, maybe some people were killed during this music festival event. Maybe the allegations are true, but if they were, let's think about this. If they were truly victims in that event, wouldn't it seem more rational to simply stick to the facts? Why would you go on to lie about the people who attacked you? If you're a victim of a crime, it's never a good look to start lying and blame shifting and also getting vengeance. Never a good look. You have destroyed your credibility the moment you start doing that shit. Victims that are trustworthy, they don't do that. I myself have been victimized multiple times. Not once in any of the cases where I was a victim did I ever turn around and start mass murdering people, lying, spreading propaganda, forcing people to believe me, and threatening them if they don't. So I do not understand why idiots here in the West seem to somehow not be able to put together that is pretty much the reason why they should not be on the side of Israel. But we have people here on the right, pro-genocide, meaning pro-Israel, and on the left, the fake left, or actual, the Democrat voters, and the Democrats themselves, pro-Israel, meaning they're pro-genocide. Everyone has lost their collective mind. This exact phenomenon mirrors Nazi Germany. It truly does. Like everything from the propaganda to the attacks on the victims to the victim blaming to the prejudice and discrimination that followed. And it all stemmed from a media apparatus that lied against Jews and blamed them for everything going on in and around Germany. But that's going off subject. We're seeing basically a genocide of Muslims in real time. It's over there along the Gaza Strip. It's here in the United States. It's in the European countries. And I'm just going to say right now, if you are Muslim or you know someone that's Muslim, you need to hide your faith for your safety. If you want to go in public with that, you're putting your life at risk right now because everyone's lost their collective minds. They're all buying to the propaganda. And yes, the prejudice that's seeped into their heads through the media has now evolved into actual discrimination. I'm going to get to that in a moment. That's what's going on right now across the world and here in the West and on social media. I'm going to get to social media in just a moment in the second part of this little discussion. But I'm going to say this right now. Again, keep that to yourself, okay? For your safety. Do not question me on this. If you want to take a risk, so be it. I just hope that you are around much better, much more educated people. Well, now let's talk about social media and how the mainstream news, in particular CNN, NBC News, and the Israeli war room are right now delivering propaganda. And it's so much propaganda with a pro-Israel slant and an anti-Muslim slant that a lot of it is hard to even keep track of. Give me a moment. We're about to start the next part of this video. I need to grab some water. My throat's a little parched. I'm gonna edit out the dead silence and we'll come right back. Okay, let's start this, shall we? So, insofar as social media and the American propaganda networks, the APN, as I call them, goes, we have a very weird phenomenon here. It is now highly evident that, pardon me, had a cough. Yeah, I guess I got a cold or something. Anyway, it's highly evident that the U.S. federal government is giving directives to the media corporations. And I'm going to talk about just two of them. NBC News and CNN, with two of the dumbest, and I mean dumbest, lines that are so transparent, a literal child could poke holes in this crap. So, basically, the U.S. media has to report objectively, even though they're not, what's going on in that country. It does generate a lot of attention. It's on the public consciousness of many across the world. But here's the problem. They cannot be objective. Why? That means they have to tell the truth about Israel. Israel is occupying, is settling, and colonizing that land. Let me explain the real reason why. It has nothing to do with their beliefs. They're Zionists. They don't really believe in Judaism. Actual Jewish people are against Israel right now. Facts. Pro-Palestinians are against Israel right now. Facts. And yes, some of those pro-Palestinians like Norman Finkelstein are actually Jews themselves. So yeah, Israel's not truly a Jewish government. It's a far-right, authoritarian, apartheid government led by Zionists who just want to use the excuse that they're Jewish to commit atrocities. The real reason why Israel is trying to wipe out Muslims in that region, they want the land underneath. Land has great economic value. And the reason why that is because of scarcity. Simple supply and demand. Land that is usable, in good shape, not, destroyed and deteriorated, and doesn't have civilian populations on top of it, meaning that it is available for resource extraction and so forth, has great economic value because it is in very low supply for many reasons. Humans have populated all the major continents and erected cities on top of them. So to find land that is actually open for the building of cities, for instance, is very difficult at this point. Very difficult. So what is one way a government can amass wealth and expand its political power? A genocide, wiping people off of their land and taking it over, which is what Israel is doing right now. They've been trying to do this for the past 75 years in a slow genocide when they basically thanks to the British Empire, created this bullshit declaration called the Declaration of Balfour and tried to take over that region. Well, the Declaration, I guess, I don't know the details, so I'm going to admit right there, I haven't read the Declaration of Balfour, but it does establish, some of the land being in control of Israel and establish Israel. Israel, since that time, has just been trying to take it all over. They were not satisfied. This is why it is insufferable to hear people try to both sides the Israel-Gaza conflict. You cannot both sides it, folks. One are settlers, the others are victims. One is committing a genocide, the other are fighting for their liberation and their lives. How do you both sides liberation and genocide? You look like a fool if you do. Continuing, bringing it back to the present, this is why they're expanding beyond Gaza, just to along the Gaza Strip. They are bombing Syria, Lebanon. I've heard they are bombing Damascus. And they went as far as the Aleppo airport. They're just going hog wild over there, bombing and tearing up and killing anything in sight to, vacate the land so that they can own it. That's all it is. It's just pure imperialism and capitalism. Nothing more. Anyone, especially these so-called progressives that you see on YouTube and Twitch that try to complicate it much more than that, do not know what the fuck they're talking about, and you should not listen to a goddamn word they're saying, because if they're deviating from what I just told you, dear viewer, they need to go read some history about that region and that conflict and the Declaration of Balfour, because it really just boils down to people just want to steal land to make money, steal land to draw natural resources, steal land so that they can use the land to build cities that they control. Some of these Zionists in the Israel Defense Force, the IDF for short is what I'm going to refer to them as from here on, have even admitted this. Yes, they are even openly admitting, yeah, we just want to take over this place and build a city and control it. Why do you think they're saying that? Because they know they're going to get away with it. Because the whole world is basically on the side of Israel, or was. They're quickly losing their credibility. I mean, very quickly. And again, any motherfucker that was trying to sit here and both sides of this bullshit, disregard them, block them, do not spread their bullshit, because they're quite literally trying to give credence to Israel. Because of this very fact, some of these media figures picked up that, oh shit, we can't really tell the truth to be objective. We'll be admitting we're the bad guys here. What are they trying to do instead? Well, if you was here when I called this channel The Ultimate Being 01's Commentary, I talked about this. What's one of the things that people commonly do with victims besides blame the victim? Smear the victim. That's what they do. Why? It's a tactic to turn people against the victim, to exonerate yourself when you're actually the culprit. Because if Jason Voorhees killed the kids at Camp Crystal Lake, but managed to convince everyone that the kids at Camp Crystal Lake deserved it, do you think everyone's going to be hog wild and going after Jason Voorhees as much as hard? Probably not. They may not even put Jason Voorhees on trial. It's that type of phenomenon. When these people are sitting here telling you, well, we got to have sympathy for Israelis. One, we need first evidence that they were victimized. I'm not saying it. Nothing clear cut. Everything out of Israel, and I'm about to get to the American media, how they're aiding this, is nothing but propaganda. And two, even if there were actual victims killed by Hamas terrorists or fighters, or I don't even know how to refer to. I don't want to use loaded terminology, so I'm trying to be careful there. I gotta say, I don't have any sympathy for the Israeli civilians that died. I'm sorry, people. That may sound harsh, but you know what? They brought on themselves. They're not victims. Because if we're to believe them, they held a music festival concert during a goddamn settling operation where these people are literally planning to do a genocide. They've been doing a genocide for decades, very slow, but now that they're just escalating it to just outright violence, bombings and shootings, beatings and so forth. I don't have sympathy for people who are literally on TikTok right now cheering on mass murder. Talk about, oh, thank God for the bombings of these children in Gaza, and making fun of the fact that Israel shut off power, food, medicine to their people. I can't sympathize with that. And you had some American leftists try to gain sympathy based upon Israelis' most probable lies. It's almost, I'm not going to say a certainty, but it's looking more and more likely that they lied about the music festival shooting, because one thing that was a red flag is that they claimed there was a singer that was shot and killed, but we found out that she's still alive. Why did they lie about that? What point is there to lie about that? You know why they lied, because they lied about everything else. They got to fudge it. They got to smear the victim. And when it comes to smearing the victim, the European media, Sky News, BBC, in full lock and step with these fascists. I have seen and read many reports, many videos where these people are just straight up pro-Israel. And they're so pro-Israel, it's embarrassing. They try to make it seem like they're being unbiased and uncritical of either side, but then at the same time, they literally use what I call the murder-died dichotomy. Let me explain what that is. The murder-died dichotomy is what people have noticed on the internet, in which certain victims are referred to as murdered, other victims are referred to as died, when in reality, all victims are victims of homicide. So you should call them all murdered, or call them all died, but there should be no dichotomy, hence murdered, died dichotomy. See, when it comes to the Palestinians, if they're the ones pulling the trigger on Israeli civilians, they murdered their victim. If it's the Israeli occupation forces, the idea of pulling the trigger on Palestinians, well, the victim in that case died. Why is that? Think carefully about that for a moment. If you died, what does that imply? There wasn't necessarily a non-natural cause, like a human or an animal killing you. In other words, it doesn't necessarily implicate homicide. Whereas if you're murdered, clearly that implicates someone or something killed you. And typically it's a person. See where I'm going with this? Would they use the murdered-died dichotomy? They're trying to alleviate guilt from Israel, aiding them in the process, not putting the blame on them for their crimes, which at this point are war crimes. So when Israelis are out there murdering Palestinians, they say, well, the Palestinians died. This has been noted in the West and especially in the European media. It is embarrassing. And that's not the only tactic that they're using. They're just straight up making up lies. I'm about to get to one case right now. Give me a moment. So NBC News on X, formerly Twitter, thank you Elon Musk for fucking up this website's name, released some bullshit tweets. If I get around to editing this, I'm going to put this tweet, like an image of it, like right along here somewhere. And it says simply, breaking. Hamas intentionally targeted elementary schools in Israel, instructed terrorists to seize hostages, move them into Gaza, and to kill as many as possible. Maps and documents recovered from the bodies of attackers show. NBC News tweeted this out on October 13, 2023. And it has, at this point, 14.8 million views. And I don't believe they did any retractions. They left the tweet up, so no, they did not retract this. Now, I'm not going to read any more of this crap because it's totally made up. Pardon the car outside if you heard that. Idiots in the United States do not know how to fucking drive. Anyway, the reason why I'm not going to retweet it is because I don't ever aim to miseducate my viewers or my readers. But NBC News just dabbled in major propaganda. Major propaganda. And I'm going to assume at the behest of the U.S. federal government and U.S. law officials. The issue with this is very simple. Actually, there are many issues. If you go into the details, they say that the Hamas militants targeted elementary schools in Israel on a Saturday. Well, elementary schools are not open on Saturdays, guys. The documents that they carried on their person, by the way, what terrorist organization carries their plans on printout documents that are color coded? They literally use colored inkjet printers to print out these documents. And reminder, like I just said earlier, Israel shut off electricity to the goddamn city. So how did these terrorists get access to printouts? They don't have any power. You know, machines use power, right? The Hamas terrorists are allegedly goddamn fucking magical. Somehow they managed to turn on a printer without electricity. Go figure. They folded this stuff. They, meaning the NBC staff, when they printed it out from their office at the behest of the U.S. law officials and possibly Netanyahu, because he was over here. And then they didn't fold it enough to make it look like it came from a body, because at the end it says maps and documents recovered from the bodies of attackers show. Problem. There will be evidence of blood on the documents. There will be evidence of tearing and crumpling and creasing on the documents. Now, there are some very unnoticeable creases, but not enough of them. And the language that's written on the forms, people, is broken Arabic. Arabic speakers have said this could not have came from anyone in Hamas. Why? Because literally the language that is printed here has the nouns, subjects, and verbs in the wrong location. There are literal grammatical errors on this shit that I'm looking at. These motherfuckers cannot even be bothered to not use Google Translate. Oh yeah, and by the way, the no blood is the prime evidence, the linchpin against this stupid ass lie. Lift them from the bodies of terrorists in a war zone. Do you know what happens in a war zone, NBC News staffers? Apparently you guys are borderline retarded, because apparently you do not. What happens to bodies in war zones is they get shot up and blown up. There's a lot of blood and gore lost. Do you know what happens when blood gets on your clothes? It seeps through multiple layers and stains it heavily. Blood is notoriously difficult to get out of clothing. And if it got into the pockets of these terrorists, it would have stained these documents. In other words, these documents should not even be legible. Well, these look in pretty good condition, minus the added crumpling that they themselves put on there to play up this little stupid ass lie. There's not a speck of blood on the documents. And also, there's no tearing, no crumpling. So how did they come from the pockets of dead terrorists who were shot up and blown up after invading an elementary school in Israel on Saturday when there's no one around? What? Like, this doesn't make a lick of sense. How could you have this happen? It did not. Dear viewer, this is propaganda meant to bolster Israel's claims that Hamas are terrorists. Nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, justifying through smearing their victims why they're doing a genocide against them right now. NBC News is literally aiding and abetting a genocidal government. It's not just NBC News. Give me a moment. I'm about to find up. I gotta find CNN. Well, I can just talk about that one. So CNN had this weird host on it. This lady named Sarah Sidner, and she got roundly mocked and derided for this. This woman got up there and said, well, we received intel from the Israeli government. Pause right there. The Israeli government. You can't get it from a much more reputable source. NBC, do you not know how journalism is done? You don't just choose random sources all willy-nilly. You need to go to the sources that you could trust the most. That doesn't have a tendency of lying during times of, war crime commission. Just food for thought. Sarah says, well, we gathered intel from the Israeli government. Continues Sarah. And it appears that there were Hamas soldiers, oh boy, here we go, that decapitated little babies. Problem, almost as if the Israeli government itself was trolling this bitch. They came out and retracted that and said, we cannot confirm at present that the terrorists, I'm going to stop using that word, I'm just going to say the Palestinians decapitated any Israeli children. I shit you not. They came out literally the next day. She had to go on her Twitter account and apologize. And no one accepted it. That was CNN. Remember how they did that Trump town hall while claiming that they're anti-democracy? And then try to gaslight people with that dumbass Anderson Cooper saying, well, we had to do this because he's a presidential contender. No, you don't. You don't have to aid and abet any far-right lunatic. You ever heard of a media blackout? You can do that. You choose not to because you guys are being paid through the U.S. government to do propaganda for it. And you know it. That's why you gave that Trump town hall. And the reason why you're doing the Israeli Benjamin Netanyahu pro-genocide propaganda like she did is because you're also getting paid by them. We're not stupid. That could be the only logical reason, because otherwise, as a professional journalist, you're taught not to go with unverified and unsourced claims, or claims that come from discredited sources. That is quite literally your bread and butter. That's your fucking job. That's like a surgeon that doesn't know how to do open heart surgery. It's like, what the fuck did you go to school for, Dan? You need to go back to school, get the fuck out of this profession, because you're about to fuck up big time. When she apologized, you had people sitting there and they're like, rightly saying, no, lady, you aided an apartheid government. Fuck you. And I was right there in agreement, nodding my head, saying, yeah, you're right. Fuck her. Fuck your bitch ass. You dumb heifer. You knew damn well you were lying. You knew damn well you received directives from U.S. officials to tell that lie. And when your ass got busted, when you realized, wrote a check, your butt came cash, you had to retract. Good goddamn y'all. It has been like this for the past several days. That is no exaggeration. Major news corporations here in the United States and in Europe have been just downright lying. And the propaganda has never been weaker than it has been in this time. Usually, when these people do propaganda, you got to do a little thinking, a little research, a little studying to unravel it. It used to be a little bit more sophisticated, at least when I was younger. Now, I can literally sit here on a PS5 in my gym clothes and tear this shit apart and laugh about it. This is a joke. This is an insult to my goddamn intelligence, dear viewer. It gets worse somehow. Yes. Now, there is this. This is just today. Today. Let me pull this up. Israel just bombed the hospital. Literally. That is a fucking war crime. You know what they did to defend themselves against allegations that they just committed an obvious war crime on the global stage in front of like eyes of billions of people that are now against them because they thoroughly discredit themselves with a genocide against literally everyone? They released a video from 2022. Yes, you heard that correct. 2022. And the video claims, well, they claim in the video that this is the hospital being bombed. The rocket came from the Hamas side. No, it didn't. They literally used a large weapon that's only known to be used by the IDF. And in that video for 2022, the reason why we know it was not from like recently, like today, it was during the nighttime, and also there was electricity. Reminder, they cut the power off to Gaza. And in the video that they said it shows the alleged bombing done by Hamas on its own hospital, there's homes with electrical power. Do these people even know how to lie at this point? They don't seem to know what a contradiction is. That is like service level bullshit. No power, but yet there's power in the video from just yesterday or today showing the hospital bombing. No, because the power was cut off. And what does the United States do in response to all this bullshit, people? You know what Joe Biden does? He aids and abets the genocidal side. I shit you not. And a lot of you have already heard this because it's getting him roasted. They're calling him Genocide Joe. Genocide Joe. Yeah, that's pretty fitting. So, genocidal Biden, he gets up here and this man is like, well, I confirmed the decapitated children. No, you did not. Because Israel itself denied that. He got up there and lied. His own administration had to walk that back. It gets worse. Lord Austin, Anthony Blinken, and his press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, they're all getting out there and they're pro-Israel. They're saying that if you're calling for a peace in the middle, in that region between Hamas and Israel, well, you're repugnant. That's what Karine says. Lord Austin, rather, with his big milk dud headed ass, is sitting there talking about, well, I fought ISIS, and what happened to the Israelis was horrible. He said this with Benjamin Netanyahu right there in front of him. And Bibi looks like, motherfucker, get away from me. Then Anthony Blinken is out there doing a State Department propaganda. And it's embarrassing. The State Department, by the way, chartered planes to get Americans out of Israel, where there's no bombs and no genocide going on. And get this, the State Department is doing this on a loan. Yes, to save the lives of their own citizens. The State Department is saying, well, if you want to get out of Israel, you're going to have to pay us back. Other fucking trash. This is what has been happening, people. This is why I want to talk about it. We're getting close to end this video. So now I want to shift focus to the greater American response to all this bullshit. Here in the United States, there's far more support for Palestine. Good. Far less support for the Zionist Israeli government. Good. Far less is always good. That means the people are well educated on this matter. They're not falling for the bullshit. The media gets out there, embarrasses itself for this lying government committed war crimes that literally everyone is now realizing is helping a genocide. The World Health Organization, some of the people that Biden is over in Israel to meet with right now, literally like right now, they're canceling appointments. The WHO is like raising objections to Israel's attack on the hospital. Then you have a lot of people seem like they're cutting ties with Biden. A lot of people are looking at the Biden supporters like, why the fuck are you trying to help this guy's image? And some of these guys are these progressive leftists. Some of the dumbest motherfuckers in the room are still Team Biden, despite the fact that this motherfucker's pro-genocide and lying against people being terrorized. You cannot make this shit up if you try. It's been amazing what I've been witnessing. Within the last several days, I cannot even put words to this shit. It's literally left me just jaw agape. On my Twitter account, it's on this page, the Chill Stream Alive. It's at Chris A. Jackson 01. You're gonna see me retweeting a lot of information related to the propaganda from the US and Europe. The Israelis making fools of themselves, literally desecrating the bodies of Palestinian victims, urinating on them and kicking them. Horrible, horrible shit. And though I try to avoid them, some of the horrible things that's happening on the ground in Gaza, and a lot of that stuff is heartbreaking. I could not even stomach most of it, so I had to stop doing it. Still, insofar as the U.S. media and government is concerned at this point, they are pro-genocide. Why? Because they're trying to engage in economic deals with Israel. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. And it's gonna spill over to World War III. How? Hezbollah, Hamas, Syria, those regions, they're all looking at this. All of the world is against Palestine, well, for the most part. They're all saying, you guys need to chill the fuck out, or we're gonna be up in there and we're gonna start clapping them cheeks. If you don't stop, you're gonna get your cheeks clapped, and it ain't gonna be pretty. And I believe these people too. That's why they're cutting ties with Biden right now for his rhetoric. And even Iran, a nuclear power, which we broke a nuclear arms deal with, by the way. Thank you, Donald Trump. They said, if this continues, we're gonna have to step in. It's like motherfuckers in the hood. One man squares some of the other. They start going at him. Then their crew starts getting involved. That's literally how it's looking right now. It's like there's like a big ass gang war about to break out. It's terrible. It's a very real possibility that we're gonna see a third global war. And you still have the American media right now. There are still CNN and other news releases that are pro-Israel and doing lies, even though literally millions of Americans are all over social media saying, no, this is all bullshit. Literally calling it out the moment they post it, like within seconds. They don't have to do no ground investigation in Gaza. They're calling it out as they're writing it. People, it is a bad time in the United States. It is a bad time in the European countries. It is a bad time across the world. So I'm gonna say, to wrap this video up, do not vote for Joe Biden or any politician at this point. They've all exposed themselves. All of them. Democrats are pro-genocide. Republicans are pro-genocide. There's no reason for you to go out and vote. That's my honest opinion. If you vote, you're supporting this apartheid government in Israel. And frankly, I want nothing to do with you. And when it comes to the media, turn it off. It's all garbage. They're all lying. They're all getting it wrong. Just cut it, shut it down. And if you got people out here like these progressive YouTubers trying to aid and abet the idea with their propaganda, unsubscribe, block them, move the fuck on. Because no one of conscience should be standing on the side of Israel. And I'm through with that. I am the ultimate being 01, the chill stream alive, the purveyor of truth. And good goddamn, I feel like I'm back. Sadly, I'm back to talk about politics. Didn't want to do that, but wanted to give my little opinion on this. Just to alert you succinctly as possible what to look out for and what to predict and what to be expecting. And also what not to be associated with. That being said, I'm going to sign out for now. Take care.